It was an unusually bitter winter in the northern mountains when I arrived. I had gone there, like many before me, seeking solitude and peace. The city's relentless noise and my overstuffed life were weighing down on me, and I needed an escape. My cabin, an old structure built in the early 1900s, was nestled deep in the woods, far from any cities. It was everything I could have hoped for: a quiet, remote, and surrounded by an ocean of towering pines and snow. The days were still, save for the occasional sound of the wind howling through the trees. The nights were colder than I had ever known, with a stifling, bone-chilling chill that seemed to penetrate even the thickest layer of clothing I was wearing. But it was perfect. At first, I spent the days walking through the forest, taking in the quiet beauty of the snow-covered landscape, feeling like I had all the time in the world to think and heal. The first night I spent in the cabin, and I slept soundly, lulled up by the silence. But something was wrong on the second night. I woke up suddenly in the middle of the night to a sound of scratching at the door. I thought it was a bird or some other animal searching for food, but there was something different about the noise. It wasn't random or frantic. It was deliberate, slow, like something was testing the door, feeling it, and tried to enter inside. My heart thumped in my chest as I cautiously got out of my bed and moved toward the door. I grabbed a flashlight, my hand shaking. There, in the cold dim light, I peered through the crack in the door. Outside, nothing moved. I could see only the moonlight reflecting off the snow. No animals, no wind, not even a whisper of any sound. The scratching had stopped, but I could feel something in the air, a strange, oppressive stillness that made the hair on my back of the neck stand up. I laughed to myself, trying to calm my nerve. Just the wind, I muttered, though even I didn't believe myself. I spent the rest of the night with one ear open, listening for anything unusual, but for my surprise, nothing came. I eventually fell asleep again, but the unsettling feeling still lingered. The next morning, the sun was hidden behind the thick clouds, casting the world in shades of grey. The air was bitter cold as I stepped outside, hoping the fresh air would clear my head. It didn't take long before I saw the first sign: footprints. The prints were large, too large to be from any human I had ever known. The stride was unnaturally long, and the prints themselves sank deep into the snow, as though they could carry an immense weight. But there was something more disturbing. They weren't entirely human. There was something wrong with them, something that made my stomach ache. I followed the footprints, unsure of what I expected to find. The tracks led deeper into the woods, toward the dense forest behind the cabin. The trees here were older, their trunks twisted and gangled. The farther I went, the air grew colder, and the wind became a faint whisper through the trees, almost like voices murmuring just out of the reach. The deeper I ventured, the more I noticed. The trees seemed different here. They weren't bent in strange shapes, almost as if they were reacting to something hidden within the shadows. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, but whenever I turned around, nothing was there. It was a feeling I couldn't explain, but it was weighing down on me. But still, I pushed forward. After what felt like hours, I saw it. A figure standing in the distance between two massive trees. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light or the movement of the trees in the wind. But as I took a step closer, the figure did not move. It was tall, far too tall for any human. Its limbs were long, too long, and its skin was pale, stretched tight over his skeletal form. Its face, though, was what truly terrified me. It had no visible eyes, only deep, dark pits where there should have been. And its mouth was impossibly wide, filled with teeth that looked far too sharp and far too many. And I looked on its head. It has antlers like deers, but it was bigger. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest, my mind refusing to believe what I was seeing. The creature made no movement, no sound at all. It simply stood there, staring at me, or at least I thought it was staring. The absence of eyes only made its gaze more oppressive, like it was looking into my very soul. I couldn't move. I wanted to run, to scream, to do anything, but my body betrayed me. I couldn't do a single thing except standing there and watch the creature staring back at me. Then, as if it had grown tired of simply observing, it moved, unnaturally fast, gliding toward the trees without making a sound. And then, just like that, it was gone. I stayed frozen for what felt like an eternity. My mind couldn't process what I had just witnessed, and my body was stiff with fear. When I finally managed to turn around and run, my legs barely carried me. It was as if the creature's gaze had rooted me to the spot, preventing me from escaping, from leaving that place all at once. I sprinted back to the cabin, my breath coming in sharp gasps. But when I reached it, I didn't feel any safe. The forest outside seemed to be closing in on me. The trees taller, the shadows darker. I hurried inside, locking the door behind me, and sat in the corner. The night was worse. It started with that scratching again. This time, it was louder, more frantic, and then I heard the breathing, a low and rasping, like something struggling to get air. It came from just outside the cabin. I tried to ignore it at first, but then the sound grew, louder and louder. It circled the cabin, moving with a slow, methodical pace. My heart raced, and I felt a cold sweat break out across my skin. I knew I wasn't alone in there. I wasn't alone in my cabin, and I wasn't alone in the woods. The night passed, and the following days were a blur of terror. Every time I ventured outside, I found more signs, more footprints, more broken branches, more sign of something watching me. I no longer venture far from the cabin, too afraid to stay too far into the woods. The creature, whatever it was, seemed to be always present, always just out of the sight, but I could feel it following me, breathing down my neck. Each night, the sound grew louder, the scratching, the breathing, and the whispers. They were no longer confined to the outside. Sometimes I could hear them inside the walls of the cabin, as if the creature had found a way, as if the creature had found its way inside. The Wendigo. I had heard stories before, stories told around like campfire by the old man who spoke in hushed tones, tales of a creature that hunted the lost, a spirit of hunger, of insatiable greed. But I never thought they were real. I never thought the creature of the legend would come for me. But it had. It was real, and it was haunting me. One night, I woke to a sound unlike any other heard before. It was a low growl, almost unimaginable, but it came from just outside the window. I knew, without a doubt, it was the creature again. My heart hammered in my chest, my throat dry. The growl became louder, more insistent, and then the scratching began again. But this time, it wasn't just at the door. It was at the window, at the roof, at the walls. The creature was everywhere this time. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. The terror of it, of the thing outside, was enough to drive me mad. I tried to live, but every time I stepped outside, the world seemed darker, more oppressive. I could feel it getting closer. The hunger, the need, the darkness of it. I was losing track of the time, losing track of myself. I no longer knew what day it was or how long I had been there. Then one night, I decided I will escape from here. I will escape from the cabin. I stood up, staring into the door, staring into my windows. I can see the moonlight shimmering through the streets. I just opened the door and just ran, closing my eyes. I never run like this before. I didn't stop. While running, I can hear the voice. I can hear footsteps behind me. But I didn't stop for nothing. I just kept running, leaving my things behind in the cabin. I don't know how far or how long I ran. Those days and those nights, they were never going to stop haunting me. I just escaped. by an inch. Hope you guys like this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to this channel. Enable the bell icon so you don't miss new uploads. And also check out other videos in this channel too. Like them and share them. And if you have any suggestions or any improvements I need to make in this channel, please post them in the comment section. Till next time, this is Malayali Wendigo. Bye.